Okay, I'm going to do this the best we can. We've recently done a M50 swap on this E30. It's an 84 318i. And after we did the swap, we put a limited slip M Roadster rear diff in. What's the gearing ratio on this, Nick? 3.23. Motor was in, transmission did exhaust work, everything, but we weren't getting a readout on our speedometer. There was no miles per hour coming through. We had tach, had everything else. Couldn't figure it out. No, the diff that we got actually came with the speed sensor that was supposed to be good. It was supposed to be tested, and couldn't get any speedo to register. So first thing we did was test the ohm reading on that speed sensor, which is right there. There's two wires that come into that, and that registered at 2.6 milliohms. It's supposed to be 0.0, but we wanted to check our wiring first to make sure there weren't any broken connections. So the wire that comes out right there out of that speed sensor, you can see, I'll take you into the back seat of the car and show you where that comes through the back seat. You have to excuse our mess. It is a project, so it's kind of messy in here right now. But where that comes through the back seat is passenger side wheel well. You'll see a group of wires, a couple wires coming through. They come through right here. Now the color you're looking for is brown, just a plain brown wire, and then a fused wire it's actually a two-piece wire. It's brown, and then the other wire connected to it is a brown with red stripe. And it's going to come out. It's in this group of wires here. And if you see this, it's like a tape. It's like almost like a tar infused tape. It's real fun to work with, but that comes out, goes along the passenger side, comes down the rocker, comes across. You can see it right there. Goes across passenger side, comes up over the transmission tunnel, and then I'm going to cut and then take you over to the other side. Comes over the tunnel, underneath the ductwork, into the driver's side rocker panel. You can see we stripped back some of the wiring so we could trace it. Now these are the two wires right here. Oh, not that one. These are the two wires right here that you're looking for. If you see, there's a red stripe on one and just plain brown on the other. And you see those wires are fused together. They're going to come out into your rocker panel. Like I said before, excuse the mess of the project. And this group of wire right here, it's going to come up into the dash, and then from here you're just going to have to trace it, because it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's going to go up underneath the dash, which this is just old wiring from an alarm system that was on there that we haven't taken out yet, and then through the back it'll connect into where the gauge cluster is. Okay, and it will go from a thicker gauge fused wire to a smaller gauge wire, still brown. Okay, both are still brown. You can see them. I'm trying to do this so you can see it. I apologize for the jumpiness. Right here. Okay, those two turn into that, or terminate into that. Now trying to remember which one is which. Here, which one has the red stripe on it. I won't give you any bad information. Okay, the brown with red wire is still a brown with red wire. Get that one out of the way. Too many wires. Spaghetti incident. Is still the brown with red wire. Okay, brown with red, brown with red. Now just the plain brown wire turns into brown with the purple dashes right there. Need to trim my thumbnail. That's gross. And then that terminates into the white connector that goes into your gauge cluster. So that's how we fixed our speedo problem. There was no signal or inaccurate signal coming to the speedo. Where these two pieces, where they're fused together here, we actually to test the wiring, to make sure the wiring is good, we backfed, disconnected everything, make sure the battery was off, and we backfed a 12-volt power source through these wires, and then tested with a test light back at the diff, just to make sure there weren't any breaks in our wires, and the wires were fine. So then we just figured out it was a bad speed sensor. I'm sure there's a quicker way of doing it, but that's how we did it, and we now have a speed sensor, or now we now have a MPH gauge that works. That's where your white connector goes in, obviously. Your blue connector right there. So hope that helped. If you have any questions, post them in the comments and we'll do our best to help out. Here's a description. We wrote down everything that we did. That way we wouldn't forget, and that way we'd be able to pass it on to you accurately. For some reason I can't post a picture to the video, so we're going to do it this way. Starts out, talk about the speed sensor wires. We move down how they route through the car. You could pause it if needed. And there's a map on the left where they start, work their way through the car. Apologize for my voice. I've had a cold for the last week here. That's why I sound like Kermit the Frog. Kermit the Frog here. Just more information on what we did and how we resolved the problem.